This thumbnail does not deceive you. I have came here to give you guys one of my favorite deck profiles of all time, and that is the Dark Magician strategy. The Dark Magician strategy just received some new support coming out of Supreme Darkness, and honestly it really does make this deck very playable, and is actually something that's not under a lot of people's radars right now because of the fact that everyone's focusing on the Primite cards to be associated with the Blue Eye strategy. As much as I do like the Blue Eye strategy and I will be playing that deck as well, Dark Magician will always be my favorite deck of all times. And if you guys don't know, yeah, you may be thinking some of the newer people over here is just weird to expect Dark Magician, but some of the people who have been in my channel ever since the beginning knows that I try doing my whole channel based off of the Dark Magician strategy, but after a certain point, once Verte Anaconda got banned, the deck became a lot less relevant and more powerful strategies came out, such as Labyrinth, not Eldritch, but it did power creep Dark Magician by a lot, Dinomorphias, Chimeras, Malice, and so on and so forth, right? But now finally I found a way to play my favorite deck of all times and to still feel that I'm actually competing with the meta. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. With the new support that came out of Supreme Darkness of the Primite cards, I actually do feel like this deck is actually really playable, and I'm really excited to show you guys this video. But in order for me to keep going with Dark Magician content such as combos, more deck profiles, like updated deck profiles, playing the deck online, everything like that, I want you guys to like and subscribe and tell me anything in the comments, like how would you update this deck or anything like that. Remember to be nice in the comments to me and to other people, as we are trying to be one of the better communities out there when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! So without further ado, let's just get straight into this, right? So instead of starting off with the Dark Magician stuff first, because I do have some Dark Magician options in here that are based off of the other cards that we're playing in here, we're going to start things off with one of the better engines of the deck, which is going to be the Primite cards. We're playing double copies of Primite Dragon Ether Barrel. We're only playing two because we're playing one more normal summon of the deck, which you can probably guess later on in the video. We're playing triple copies of the Primite Lordy Load. We're playing one copy of the Primite Roar, and we're playing one copy of the Primite Drill Beam. This is honestly all you need for the Primite engine over here. For Blue Eyes, there's not really being played any copies of the Primite Roar. As of right now, I do find myself needing the Roar just a little bit over here, but in the future I have in the future we can probably test the deck without this. But before I was playing double copies of Roar, but playing the deck enough, I did find myself cutting the Roar down to 1, and it has worked out well for me so far, especially the fact that if I hard open it, great. If I have both of these cards in my hand, great as well. So I no matter what, this card will always be searchable through either one of these cards over here, or if I hard open it, that's just great as well. So when it comes to these cards, these are some of the more broken cards in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh!, especially when it comes to Primite Drill Beam as well, which in the later videos I will show you why this card is better in here when it comes to Blue Eyes. So that's gonna be it for the Primite engine over here. Now, when it comes to more dragons that you can play in this deck as well, especially when it comes to one of the better strategies in this upcoming meta game, is going to be definitely the Bystial cards. We do see ourselves a lot of Themes-Smith in the meta, and there's a lot of light and dark decks that the Bystials can be pretty experimental in as well. So being able to actually play a whole bunch of these Bystial cards are actually really good. And especially when it comes to playing them with Dark Magician, and especially with one of your best boss monsters over here, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, being able to fuse any of these dragons away and a Dark Magician to go into the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, or even Dark Magician the Dragon Knight, which we're also playing in here, is actually really good as well. So Triple Druid Swarm is one of your best ones over here. Magnuma to search any of your dragons over here, which also includes the Primite Dragon Ether Barrel and Tamias that we're also playing in the Dark Magician side of the thing as well. Lubellion to search any of your Bystials over here, and to put Brandy Regain into the Spell and Trap Zone. And Baldric is definitely that one of you can cut if you really want to, but I do see this to be pretty useful in here, not only just to tribute things like the Bystials over here to banish any of the extra deck monsters or ritual monsters that your opponent might summon, but being able to actually tribute the Dark Magician as well and bring it back with Eternal Soul is actually one of those reasons why I decided to keep the Baldric in. So that is going to be it for the Bystial Monsters. It didn't really take a lot of time to explain this side of the deck over here, which is honestly why this deck really works with the Dark Magician cards over here. But when it comes to future videos, I do want to explain more on why these cards are actually really good in this deck as well. So remember, once again, like and subscribe if you want to see the combo segment of this video for sure. So now going into the Dark Magician portion of this deck, we're playing triple copies of Dark Magician. This can be cuttable down to 2, but I did find myself liking the 3 for now. But I am not opposed to cutting this card down to 2 and just keeping this as a 41 card deck, because as of right now we are at a 42 card deck count over here. But I do sometimes see myself opening up more than 1 copy of the Dark Magician in my hand, and I really don't like that. But that hasn't really happened all too much for me to decide that I don't really want to play triple copies of the Dark Magician. As once again, from what I described, the Primite Roar gets the Dark Magician out, and also Primite Lordy Load, which is the main reason I did cut the Roar down to 1, is that I actually do summon the Dark Magician off of the Primite Lordy Load because of how my end board looks when it comes to this deck for sure. So triple copies of Dark Magician here. One more break over here, which is the Dark Magician Girl. With the Primite cards actually being in the mix now, we can actually use cards like Magician Souls to dump the Dark Magician Girl first and then get the Dark Magician out later, especially when it comes to other cards like Soul Servant as well, being able to get more than 1 draw per turn, which is actually really good. It does bring me back to the days where we actually used to just play the Verti Anaconda to go for the Dragoon, where we actually have both Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl both in the graveyard, and being able to get multiple drops off of that. So these are the bricks that we're playing in the deck. The Dark Magician Girl can obviously be a card like Mahad or Mana, but I decided to just use the Dark Magician Girl here because of cards like Magician's Navigation, which you will see later. One Timaeus is just an extra copy of your polymerization, just to go into cards like Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, Dark Magician the Dragon Knight. And this card is actually not terrible as well, because we do play a number of the Dark Magician spells and trap cards, and is also the fact that we could just use, like, you could just tribute the Magician's Rod off just to summon it, and this card is searchable off of the Magnuma, as I mentioned before it as well, so we don't really need to burn any Dark Magician resources to try to search this card. So this card is really good over here. When I mentioned before that we're only playing double copies of the Primite Ether Barrel, is because we're still playing double copies of the Magician's Rod over here. I tried cutting this card down to 1, but being able to actually normal summon this card over the Primite Ether Barrel is actually pretty good sometimes, because sometimes you might just have all the Primite cards that you might just need in your hand. So being able to just choose this as your main normal summon to get into your Dark Magician cards when you have Primite cards already in your hand is just a better move for sure. And obviously the best thing about both of our normal summons over here is that they both reoccur themselves to our hands. So depends on how our grind game is looking in the future. Being able to get both of these cards back to your hand and just choosing the proper situation for whichever one of these cards is actually really good, and one of my favorite parts about this deck as well, the amount of times that you're just able to reoccur these cards and just to stay in the game. So double copies of Magician's Rod, really good right there. You're playing triple copies of Magician's Souls, still probably one of your best cards in the deck as well. Not only that the Soul Servant gives you a pot of greed, but this card obviously will give you a pot of greed as well. And this card synergizes so well, especially when you just search for your copy of the Primite Drill Beam, especially when your Primite Ether Barrel was your main normal summon of the deck of the turn. So basically you would just go Ether Barrel, set Primite Drill Beam, go for Magician's Souls. Magician's Souls sends Drill Beam and one more card to draw 2 cards, and then Primite Drill Beam sets itself to the field because you still control a Primite monster during your during the main phase as well, which is actually pretty nuts in my own opinion. So this card is really good, and also the fact that you're able to summon Dark Magician as well to be able to trigger cards like Dark Magical Circle. Spoiler alert, which we are also playing in the deck. We're playing double copies of the Illusion of Chaos over here. Don't really play a third one, and I don't play any of the Illusion of the Preparation of Rites to search this card. I feel like I do see enough engine to get inside of my Dark Magician strategy So being able to see this card at the right time is actually really good, especially the fact that we do play technically 3 more copies of the card as well in Soul Servant over here. Soul Servant is absolutely nuts in this deck. It brings me back to the time where this card was actually so good with Verti Anaconda, being able to guarantee yourself 2 draws every turn because of the fact that this with the Primite Engine, you basically do get yourself 2 draws every single turn. So with both Magician's Rod, Magician's Souls, and the Soul Servant, you guarantee yourself to have 4 draws for that one turn when you use it. And this is where most of you might click off the video, or you might just see let him cook. So we're playing triple copies of Secrets of Dark Magic. When it comes to the way how I play this deck, they will see why I do max out on this very card over here. Playing triple copies of Secrets of Dark Magic, especially when it comes to Primite cards as well, especially the fact that when you activate this card, you will guarantee to see your Dark Magician on your end board every single time. So being able to set this card as an interruption card during your opponent's turn when you have Dark Magician on the field is absolutely nuts, right? Because especially the fact that you do need the Dark Magician on the field, especially when it comes to cards like Primite Drill Beam as well, or have the Dark Magician on the field or graveyard for cards like Primite Roar to resolve his effect as well, is actually really good. So being able to keep the Dark Magician on your field to go along with your Primite cards is actually pretty important. And then when you're done with the Primite cards, you fuse it away with either your Ether Barrel or your Bystial Monsters that you use during your opponent's turn, or to synergize with another card that I'm playing in my extra deck, makes this card actually worth it to be a 3 of here. So honestly, let's see. I want to see what you guys say about this card in the comments down below. If it comes down to the future, I will try this card at 2 because of the fact that Soul Servant also does recycle this card from my graveyard as well. Is probably a reason to cut this down to 2. You just activate 1 Soul Servant, stack this card back on top of your deck, and then you'd be able to use it again. But being able to hard draw into this card with the 4 draws that you would be able to use during your turn if you go uninterrupted through cards like Magician's Souls and cards like Soul Servant, and also the fact that I do after I do go deep into my deck like that, I sometimes just get the Secrets of Dark Magic off of the Dark Magical Circle as well, which is actually pretty cool here. So this card is actually pretty good in this variant of the deck. When it comes to people playing this card in the past, they do not end off with the Dark Magician on their field. They mainly ended off with the graveyard, or is actually still in their deck, depending on what version of the deck that they play. So this card right here is really, really good in this version of the deck, being able to play with Bystials and Primite cards. And yeah, this card just has been overhated by the Dark Magician community for a very, very long time. So I really stand with this card being at multiple copies when it comes to Primite versions of this deck, especially when you're playing Bystials in here. I cannot say it enough. So once again, we're playing triple copies of Secrets of Dark Magic right over here. As for the rest of the Dark Magician spells and traps, playing one Salvation, 1 Circle, and 1 Eternal Soul over here. Being able to open up any one of these cards over here, except for these 2 together, is actually really good, especially when you have any of your other cards that will be able to search into the other pieces that are missing. Is really good here. So being able to complete, as Loza would say, the Dark Magician Triangle. I call it the Dark Magician Triangle-ish because like you would just go Eternal Soul, bring this back, Dark Magical Circle, banish something, and I call it the ish part of the deck because of the fact that Magician's Rod is in the rotation as well. So you would just go Eternal Soul, bring back Dark Magician, chain 1 Circle, chain 2 Magician's Rod, tribute the Dark Magician, and then get this card back to your hand, because it doesn't really loop back from what I see or what I try to see here. But you know what, I see why this works. Why is it called the Dark Magician Triangle? And yeah, this is pretty effective in this version of the deck as well, because like once again, you will always see Dark Magician on your side of the field or in the graveyard, not through the Dark Magician cards itself, but through the Primite cards as well. So being able to see these cards is a lot easier than other versions of the deck as well. So These 3 cards, pretty good in this deck. And for the leftover 6 cards that we're playing in the deck, we're playing triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, and we're playing triple Veiler. I said 6 cards, I lied, it's 7 cards, because as of right now we're playing of the Silhouette Rabbit in the extra deck, so we're playing the Angel's Statue Azaroon. So right now we're playing 42 cards in the main deck. There are cards you can obviously cut out in this deck, but as of right now I do like this deck at 42, and this deck is not done getting its support yet, because as of right now, you guys know that in a couple weeks we're getting the Blue Eyes Structure deck, and the Blue Eyes Link 1 actually does help this deck a lot, which you will see in a few moments over here. So 42 in the main, let's just get straight into the extra now. Playing double copies of Dragoon, yes, nice Starlights over here, which is really nice. Playing 1 Dark Magicians over here, Starlight as well. Don't mean to flex. We're playing 1 copy of Dark Magician the Dragon Knight, QCR, still flexing, and 1 copy of Guardian Chimera over here. So these cards are pretty understandable why I play in the Dark Magician strategy, but a lot of people may be thinking, why the Guardian Chimera? Once again, what did I say? Triple copies of Secrets of Dark Magic, because sometimes you may not be able to go for the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. If you do play the deck against your opponent, you probably would be able to see like what card which is appropriate to go into when it comes to Secrets of Dark Magic. Do you go for Guardian Chimera? Do you go for Red Eyes Dark Dragoon? Or do you even go for the Dark Magician the Dragon Knight as well? Because like when it comes to games 2 and 3, I do find myself actually being able to go into the Dark Magician the Dragon Knight quite well, especially when I'm chaining to something like Harpy's Feather Duster or Lightning Storm for that matter. I would just go for Dark Magician the Dragon Knight, and my back row is protected as well. And if I flip over Eternal Soul, this is protected as well, because this is Dark Magician on the field. That's one reason why I would go for this card over here. Guardian Chimera, really powerful card. Is also unexpected when it comes to Dark Magician as well, because being able to just get a free draw and a pop 2 on your during your opponent's turn is actually really good. And unlike cards like Chimera Fusion, which needs to be used during the main phase, this can be used during whatever phase you want, as long as you use a Dark Magician or a Dark Magician Girl as a fusion material. So as long as any of these cards are being used as a fusion material, you are able to fuse whatever you want to go into Guardian Chimera. Pop 2, draw 1, pop 1, draw 2, whichever whatever situation comes. So this card is actually really good in this deck as well. And obviously, two Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, obviously really easy to go in this version of the deck as well, because once again, Primite Dragon Ether Barrel, Talmayas, Bystials, Secrets of Dark Magic, playing multiples, really good there. And this card can be cut, but like I do have my reasons for playing this card, because like sometimes you might just have one of those wonky hands where you would have to use your Secrets of Dark Magic to go for the Dark Magicians to start gathering resources during your opponent's turn. And being able to draw into cards like Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, Effect Veiler during your opponent's turn, or even any of the Bystials for that matter as well, is actually really good as well. Or if you have to make this card turn 1 for whatever reason and then activate a card like Soul Servant, you can just draw into whatever you need without using the Soul Servant draw in the graveyard anyway. So you'll be able to use that for later on as well. And as I mentioned before, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, just Omni Negate, really good card, main boss monster of the deck. So that's going to be it for all the fusion monsters of the deck. We're playing 1 copy of Induck over here. We're playing 1 copy of Link Spider. We still want our Dark Magician in the graveyard, and sometimes we only want to use 1 card to go into that, so we could just loop it back really easily later on. So these cards really good over here. And also this card is a lot better in this deck than Imagine as well, because like let's say obviously a little sneak peek before the next deck profile, for the next video, which is going to be the combo orient version of this deck, right? I don't even know what I'm saying right now. Primite Dragon Ether Barrel, we probably go for the Primite Load, and then we just call Dark Magician. Dark Magician, link it away for Induck, and then that would bring us to our next card over here. By linking those 2 cards away, we would just go for our Hermetic Seals of the Heavenly Spears over here, which is actually really good because once again, you play Bystials. being able to go in your opponent's turn into a card like Bystial Druid Swarm, especially after you use Secrets of Dark Magic during your opponent's turn to just fuse everything away. Go for Guardian Chimera or go for Red Eye Star Dragoon. Trigger Druid Swarm effect during your opponent's turn to send something away. Really good there. And also the fact that this card's a bounce. Especially when it comes to decks like Malice or Ryzeal, you can just use this in response to like your opponent's Ryzeal dual drive, or like during your just use this against their Malice cards as well, because instead of banishing them, which Bystials kind of do play into them a little bit, you could just use this, just bounce something back, and then your opponent loses a body in the Malice board. And once they don't have like the proper bodies to link away to something better, or just link climb, they kind of do struggle. So this one card actually does put some problems against those decks over there. So that's actually really good to consider right there. Rest of the links, we're playing one Dark, one Silhouette Rabbit for the Angel statue, SP Little Knight, no need to explain there, one Selene, and one Access Code Talker over here. Really basic when it comes to the Dark Magician deck over here, but it's still really powerful as well. Being able to just go for a 5300 Access Code Talk backed up with like a Dragoon or something like that, or like a Guardian Chimera you might have activated earlier during the turn as well. So being able to just go for this card is a lot easier than in other versions of the Dark Magician deck. And then the last two cards that we're playing over here, we're playing one Chaos Angel, one Typhon. Chaos Angel, obviously you would just be able to do it with Dark Magician and your copy of Magician's Rod over here. Valor's on level 1, I think. Yeah, I don't think there's any other way to go for Guardian Chimera. Please remind me if I'm wrong over here. But being able to just go Dark Magician and Magician's Rod into a Chaos Angel is actually pretty good there. Being able to just banish something as well. And Typhon, especially when your opponent just builds a whole freaking Ryzeal board, you just go Typhon over here, and as long as that back row is not a freaking copy of Imperm, you're having yourself a great day, you know? Or if they have the Ryzeal cross as well, because I'm still a little petty about that one time I played against them yesterday. They just had an Imperm. I would have outed their whole board. But we're not talking about that now. So that's it with the extra deck, and that's gonna be it with the deck profile over here. No side deck just yet. Haven't really brought this deck into locals yet, or brought it to like best 2 out of 3 online play. So this is my Primite Bystial Dark Magician deck profile. I hope you guys really liked it, and I enjoy making this deck. I enjoy making this video. I enjoy telling you guys of how everything synergizes together. And once again, I'm happy for playing multiple copies of Secrets of Dark Magic, because in this variant, I just realized it myself when I was building this deck as well, it's honestly one of the best cards in this deck. You gotta actually think about it. And if you guys don't believe it now, wait until you see the combo oriented video that shows you why this card is actually really good. So without further ado, guys, I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.